is going on, everybody, and welcome to the Friday edition of the Stochastic NHL Strategy Show. I'm your host, Josh Harris. 4 games up on tap here tonight. From a viewing perspective, leaves a lot to be desired, but DFS, good GPPs for this Friday in October, so we take it. Can't win if you don't play. So last night, Vegas did what they were supposed to do. Colorado didn't. Edmonton didn't. Bo Horvat with a hat trick. So if you're going with the mainstream plays, not like the contrarian Horvat line, you needed Vegas. You probably did need Horvat to win any significant money, but yeah, that's sometimes how it goes. I mean, Colorado handled Columbus pretty handily despite the top line not doing much. So joining me to break down this 4-gamer, lovely slate with the Hawks and the Sharks on it. Cliffy, what's going on?
Yeah, not a whole lot. Vegas won, led the way, 75 DK points last night. Islanders just behind them because Horvat had 48 points individually. Carolina won, didn't have a bad game. Actually, Ehlers, obviously, no points, no actual points, goals, assists, but Jarvis, 3-point night with a pair of goals. Sebastian Aho, goal and assist. And then Vegas, 2, the 4th best line on the night. So, yeah, Vegas needed them last night. Did not have them last night. Got kind of excited when Shane Pinto got an early goal. Got kind of excited when Leon Draisaitl scored on the power play. And then absolutely nothing happened after that. So, that's the way that goes. We do have 8 teams, 4 games on the slate here tonight. There's a little bit of injury news. We'll get to that. I think 3 of these teams play tomorrow. Now, we do have goalie confirmations on one of them. The other 2 we're not sure of yet. We might not know until warm-up, so there might be some funky goalie situations here because teams are going to have to play their backup either tonight or tomorrow, depending on what they want to do. But we do know most of the lineups. We do know most of the injuries. So we'll take that, especially, as you said, pretty good GPPs, $20K, $5 entry over on DraftKings here tonight. So we'll take those. Wish San Jose was a little bit of a better team because San Jose at Utah, if you asked me 2 weeks ago, I'd really be looking forward to staying up till 1 a.m. to watch that. But the way the Sharks look, I don't know about that. We'll get to that later. But yeah, interesting 4-gamer to put it mildly.
If Andres Jimenez can do it, Will Smith can do it. Maybe. But let's get into this 4-game slate. Before we do, if you are thinking about going premium, you can click that link in the chat. You can use promo code Stochastic15. That will get you 15% off any week or month subscription. You don't have to go premium. These shows are always going to be free, but if you do want to support us further, you can check out those options. Let's get into this slate. Tampa Bay Lightning.
Hold on. Right before we do, see 8-game in the chat. He messaged us, joined Stochastic a couple days ago. Finished second in the mini-max last night. He did have Bo Horvat. He had Bo Horvat. Timo Meier had a really big game. He had Eichel and Stone. Second in the mini-max is certainly nothing to sniff at. You got to think Dostal turns in a little bit of a better game. Maybe he climbs to the top, but good night from him for just joining us here this week. So hopefully we can get him to first place at some point, and hopefully we can get a couple other subscribers to first place as well.
Yeah, I forgot. My bad. 8-game. That's my bad. Bacon, I know it's my bad. Tampa Bay Lightning with a 3.2 total heading into Detroit. The Red Wings have a 2.8 total. Tampa going Kucherov, Point, Hagel, Gensel, Cirelli, Goncalves, Bjorkstrand, Gord, Holmberg. Detroit going DeBrincat, Kane, Casper, Larkin, Appleton, Finney. Guy. This is a front end of a back-to-back for Tampa. This is one of those guys, or one of those games where we don't have a confirmation on the goalie. We don't know if it's going to be Vasilevsky. We don't know if it's going to be Jonas Johansson. They are in in Columbus tomorrow, so I don't know. Maybe John Cooper speaks at 4:30 Eastern, something like that, and we get confirmation, but there's a good chance we won't know until 6:30 p.m. Eastern, on which goalie leads the Lightning out onto the ice. Tampa won, even with Hagel there, really expensive, 20,900. 29.9% top two stack, 12.7% ownership. I know you talked about it on maybe yesterday. No, it was Wednesday slate, I think, when Florida went into Detroit, that Detroit really hasn't been that bad defensively at 5-on-5. It's really just their penalty kill that has been an issue. And that kind of came to fruition with the Panthers in town. I'm not saying like that's going to happen every time a team goes into Detroit, but at 20,900, I don't know if I want to spend that much on this slate when you have, Minnesota in a decent spot. We'll talk about it. You have Utah at home to the Sharks. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, I'll never say no to a Kucherov one-off. But for me, I'm more interested in the depth of Tampa here. And if you want to go to Gensel, Cirelli, Goncalves, I think that's fine. But they're the highest projected owned line in this game at 14.3%. Just because, Cirelli and Goncalves are really, really cheap. So, like, they're fine. But I do worry a little bit about that ownership. Like, I don't really want to play like a 14% Gage Goncalves. You know what I mean? So, like, for me, I think I would go down to the third line here, do like a Gord Bjorkstrand 2-man, especially if I'm trying to like power play stack Minnesota or power play stack Utah. It's not cheap, and you're going to need a cheap 2-man, and that full line is only 9,500. So I don't mind Gordon Bjorkstrand here. On the Detroit side, it's basically the Brinkat line or bust. Without Hagel, Cirelli's defensive numbers take a decent hit. I don't mind to bring Cat King Casper. It's just the price, 17,100, isn't ideal. That's more of a 20 max play for me. So, if you want a one-off Larkin or something like that, fine. But for me, it's really about the Tampa depth and that DeBrincat line.
Yeah, I'll start on the Tampa side. I do think there is a reason to play Tampa 1 here tonight. And I said I don't normally like playing expensive lines on huge slates. On shorter slates like this, like the Detroit penalty kill is not good. Okay. Like we said it the last time Detroit was on the show. Even after Todd McClellan took over last year, they were really, really bad. So far this year, they're giving up the third most shot attempts against per 60 minute or per minute on the penalty kill. Now, their goaltending has been pretty good. Cam Talbot has been really good for Detroit. John Gibson's getting the start tonight. The one thing that's kind of holding me back is Detroit usually doesn't take a lot of penalties. They were one of the least penalized teams in the league last season, only 2.2 times shorthanded. So far this season, they're at 2.25 times shorthanded, the third lowest rate in the league. Like, they're not giving up a lot of power play opportunities. It'll be really hard for Tampa Bay to, double dip on the power play if they only get 1 or 2 power play opportunities. But they can somehow squeeze 3 or 4. This is a very bad penalty kill that an excellent Tampa Bay top power play unit can take advantage of. That's why I'm kind of considering Tampa. I honestly think you don't have to play Brandon Hagel. I get why you would. Like, this guy, he is a very good player. He's a 30-goal scorer, like all that. The thing is that he is not on the top power play unit, and he is fairly expensive at 5,900. You can save $2,000 and take out Hagel and put in Bjorkstrand for that additional power play exposure. So, all of a sudden, a line that is 20,900 and can really prohibit what else you do. You take out Hagel, put in Bjorkstrand, you're down to 18,900. Now, again, I'm the one thing that's really holding me back is the fact that that Detroit doesn't take a lot of penalties. And like, if Tampa doesn't get 2 power play goals here tonight, they might struggle because to really be useful in fantasy because Detroit has been pretty good defensively this year. That's something that's gone, I don't think talked about enough, is that they have been a top 10 defensive team at 5-on-5. It's just 5 games or whatever. So we'll see what things look like in a few weeks' time. But I don't mind Tampa 1 here tonight, particularly if you take off Hagel and put in Bjorkstrand, get that additional power play exposure. Because if Tampa does go off here tonight, it's probably because the power play goes 2 for 4, 3 for 4, or something like that. If the power play goes 0 for 1, I think they're really going to struggle to provide any meaningful fantasy value, even on a short slate like this. I'm out on Tampa too. Like, I was looking at Jake Gensel's numbers. Jake Gensel, 47 on the ice for 47 shot attempts per 60 minutes since he got to Tampa Bay, when he doesn't have Kucherov or Hagel or Point on the ice with him. So when he's playing with Tampa Bay's depth, they're at 47 shot attempts per 60 minutes. That's like Chicago level stuff. Like, I completely out. So I agree with you. If I'm playing a depth Tampa line, I'm going down to the third line. But in case Tampa can draw 3 or 4 power plays here tonight, I do think I have interest in Tampa 1. On the Detroit side, it's funny. The other day on the show, we said, how bad Dylan Larkin's numbers were without Lucas Raymond next to him. And then Mason Appleton goes out and scores 2 goals. It's like, okay, man. But again, Detroit scoring about 2.1 goals per 60 minutes over the last couple of years when Dylan Larkin doesn't have Lucas Raymond or Alex DeBrincat on his wing. It's nice that Mason Appleton got a couple goals. You certainly can't rely on that every night. Like Emmett Finney, he has 5 shot attempts at 5-on-5 this season. Like, not, you know what I mean? Like, not, 5 shots even, like 5 shot attempts. He's just not doing anything. Maybe he can post like a shot, 2 shots within an assist. I don't really see him going ham. So I'm kind of out on Detroit 1. It would be DeBrincat, Kane, and Casper that I'd have interest in. Tampa has struggled a bit defensively this season. Victor Hedman has not looked very good. That third pair with Radish and Lilleberg has been very bad. So I do think there are reasons to play DeBrincat, Kane, and Casper here. Tampa typically doesn't allow a lot of power play opportunities. They did last season. They're only at 2.5 against per game. This season, they're giving up more than the league average. That might have something to do with their defensive struggles a little bit. So I do think, like, if you want to take off Casper, put in Larkin, make it more of a power play stack, I think that's fine. Comfort Cop and Branson Nygaard is kind of interesting, if only because they're fully correlated on the second power play unit, and the second power play unit is getting like 30% of the power play time. So, like, if they get lucky once on the power play at under 10K, then they're perfectly fine. Like, if you're making a super expensive Minnesota stack, like, I think they're playable in that sense. But for me, I think this game is more about the Tampa Bay top line, and specifically the top Tampa Bay power play guys, because if Tampa does go ham here tonight, it's going to be because the power play goes like 2 for 4 or something like that.
Yeah, and if it's a close game going into the third, I wouldn't be shocked to see Gensel move back up onto that top line as well. Minnesota Wild with a 2.7 total heading into Washington. The Capitals have a 2.9. Absolute shocker that this is a 5.5 total, and I have interest in it. It's not shocking that the total is 5.5. It's not shocking that I have interest in it. For some reason, I'm always attracted to 5.5s. But anyway, Minnesota going Kaprizov, Boldy, Rossi, Eriksson, Tarasenko, Marcus Johansson, Hartman, Foligno, Trenin. I mean, you understand why Minnesota has a 2.7 road total, right? If they go over it, it's not going to be, most of the time, if you sim it like 100 times, most of the scoring is going to come from the top 6. Washington's going Ovechkin, Strome, Beauvillier, Protas, Wilson, McMichael, and a bunch of guys. I'll start on the Minnesota side. I do like Minnesota 1 here. It's not the best 5-on-5 matchup because they do send out that Dowd-Duhaime line out against top comp at home, and they have been very, very good. where Minnesota has been excellent is the power play. They're not going to sustain their 8 for 17. Like, if they do, they'll be the greatest power play of all time by a wide margin. But, like, I think you can ride the wave here. And I don't think you need to play Rossi here. You have Zeev on the blue line for fairly cheap here tonight. I don't think I'm going to full stack anything from Minnesota. I think doing like a Kaprizov Boldy 2-man. Like, I don't really want to do an Eriksson Ek Tarasenko 2-man because the two most important players on the Wild are Kaprizov and Boldy. So I think like you play those guys, and if you want to add in Tarasenko for some more power play time at cheap, I think that's fine. But, you know, this is kind of more of like, yeah, I want to see if they can continue doing it on the power play. Listen, like outside of that Dowd line, they just aren't a great defensive team. Outside of Logan Thompson having that 3-month stretch last year where he was unbeatable, he's still a good goalie. He's just not the guy he was like with like a 980 save percentage. If he has like a 910, like this is a beatable team. So I do like Minnesota 1 here, a Minnesota power play stack. On the Washington side, it's the McMichael Wilson Protoss line for me at 15,200, 7.8% top 2 stack, 8.2% projected ownership. Something clicked for Tom Wilson like the last season, and he just stopped being a goon for now and started concentrated. Someone must have gotten his ear and be like, listen, you're a good scorer, you're a first-round pick. You should probably do that stuff. You know what I mean? So, like, I like Protoss had one of the best seasons of anyone. Like, if there was like a most improved player award, he probably should have won it. But I'm in on McMichael Wilson Protoss. Do you need a full stack? No, but if you are going to take at least 2 of the guys, I want Tom Wilson in there for sure. So Minnesota power play stack, Washington 2 for me.
Yeah, it's really interesting that our first 2 games are Tampa and Detroit, and then Minnesota and Washington, because I said Detroit is tied for the 3rd fewest power play opportunities given to the opponent per game so far this season. The team they're tied with is Washington. So, you know, the Caps have they've only given 9 power play opportunities to the opponent in 4 games. That's the one thing that worries me about Minnesota. Now, Minnesota is drawing the most power plays. I don't know how long that lasts. That's a big part of what's going on here too, right? It's not just that Minnesota's 10 for 21 on the power play. It's the fact that they're drawing 5 power plays per game. Last year, I think the league average was like 2.7 or something like that. So, you know, they're like 90% higher than the league average from last year. So that's the one thing that does worry me about their power play continuing. The other thing is like, even outside of the Dowd line, like when Protas is on that second line, even that line has pretty good defensive numbers, and they do use them in a shutdown role as well. Like, you will not see Dylan Strome and Alex Ovechkin going out against Kaprizov. If they do, it's because, you know, Carberry had like a stroke on the bench and he just starts pointing at players. So like this isn't really a good 5-on-5 matchup for Minnesota, but the same thing could be said about Tampa. Like, these 2 teams are basically in identical situations here tonight. So the question is, you know, do you want to play Minnesota 1 or Tampa 1? For me, I would probably go with Tampa, but I do think, you know, there's a couple things that are going in Minnesota's favor. One, Kaprizov and Boldy are playing like 22, 23 minutes a game. Like, Kaprizov typically plays a lot, but the fact that Boldy, you know, so far this season is at 23 minutes and 11 seconds per game is absolutely wild, pun intended. So the fact that they're getting so much ice time, I know one of those games went to a shootout, but it's only 1 game that went to overtime. It's not like they've had 3 overtime games or something like that. They're really leaning heavily on that top line. You know, that top line's at 83 shot attempts per 60 minutes so far in their 4 games. And it's not like they've had a cakewalk schedule. St. Louis, Columbus, Los Angeles, Dallas. Like, you know, in that mix, you have 3 playoff teams and another team that was in a tiebreaker for the playoffs last year. Like, those are good teams least average teams, and Minnesota at 5-on-5 has been walking all over them. I really do like the top line here. For me, I still have Tampa above them, but if you want to play Minnesota, I'm not going to say no. Like, they're in the identical situation that Tampa is here tonight. They're playing well at 5-on-5. I agree with you. If you want to take off Rossi and put in Eriksson Ek, like, that is certainly doable. The problem is like that all of a sudden that gets really expensive. That jacks up your cost to $21,700. Whereas if you put Bjorkstrand on the top line for Tampa, like, all of a sudden you're down to $18,900. Like, it's $3,000 cheaper than Minnesota. That matters a lot. So I think just the price factor for me, the fact that I can bring Bjorkstrand into that Hagel line and make it a lot cheaper, or into that Kucherov line and make it a lot cheaper, puts Tampa 1 over Minnesota 1 for me, but they're certainly both in play. Minnesota 2, you do get 2 out of the 3 guys on the top power play unit. Like, that does matter. And they're not going to see nearly as much of the shutdown matchups as the top line. The other thing is like, they've been pretty low event to start the season, 56 shot attempts per 60 minutes. It's about league average. Like, they're really not generating a lot. Tarasenko, like, he is not the guy he was 5-6 years ago or anything close to it. They've also not have consistent line combinations. So honestly, if anything, I might dip down to the third line if you need a cheap third line, like a Hartman-Foligno 2-man. Like, Hartman has been shooting quite a bit this year, 23 shot attempts per 60 minutes. Foligno donks an assist and gets a shot, like, you're probably fine. So, like, I do think they make sense. But for me, obviously it's Minnesota 1. On the Washington side, I have no interest in the top line. They typically get run over when they don't have Protas or Wilson on the wings. Anthony Beauvillier is not Protas or Wilson. 3.1 expected goals against per 60 without Protas or Wilson on the top line over the last couple of years. The Washington power play also hasn't been all that good. The top power play units under 75 shot attempts per 60 minutes. Anything below 100 is a big red flag for me, and these guys are under 75. That is very worrisome for me. Now, typically Minnesota hasn't had a good penalty kill. Maybe they can take advantage of that. Honestly, for me, like, I don't have a ton of interest in Washington, generally speaking, here tonight. If I do play anything, be Protas, Wilson, McMichael. They are their best line. 70 shot attempts per 60 minutes over the last 2 years without Pierre-Luc Dubois as the center. Protas is skating 19 minutes a game. Wilson's at about 20 minutes a game. I don't mind that line at 15,200. Like, if I'm looking for more of a medium build, Washington 2 is the one that I would consider. It's the only line I'd consider from Washington. Minnesota 1 / Minnesota power play or whatever is what's really driving my interest in this game.
Yep, as Bacon decided he wants to join us for the next game, and that is the Vancouver Canucks. They 3.2 total heading into Chicago. The Hawks have a 2.8 total. Vancouver played the last night against Dallas. There he goes. Vancouver should be running back Besser, DeBrusk, Hedel, Pettersson, Garland, O'Connor, Kane, Sherwood, Ratti. Chicago going Bedard, Burakovsky, Doc, Nazar, Teravainen, Bertuzzi, Donato, Mikheyev, Dickinson. It was Demko in net last night, right? So it's going to be Lankinen here tonight, Narrative Street, if you live on there. I don't, but I know a lot of people do. On the Vancouver side, that Donato, Mikheyev, Dickinson line is going to go out against Pettersson, so I don't really want to play a 14,500 Pettersson line when they haven't even really been good. For me, on the Vancouver side, it's more about Besser, DeBrusk, Hedel. 15,400, 10% top 2 stack, 11.6% projected ownership. I don't think you need to full stack here. If you're doing something with like the Minnesota power play and you're leaving off Rossi, I think a decent one-off to fill that center spot would be Philip Hedel. I think a 2-man of like Hedel, Besser, Hedel, DeBrusk is fine. If you want a full stack, obviously that's fine. They're just not a line that I really am going to be full stacking. The Pedersen line, again, don't have too much interest in it. That third line, there is some history here because Mikheyev had that hit on Hedel that took out Hedel for the rest of the season last year with the concussion. Sherwood's big mad about it. Who knows if he's going to follow through with that, but I don't mind a one-off of Vander Kane here either. So it would be that Vancouver second line. On the Chicago side, I don't – I'll start with the Dickinson line. Like, I honestly don't mind them as a filler line at 11,100. They are coming in close to 5% projected, but that makes sense at 11,100. At home, they see a little bit bump in minutes because they do kind of match the top lines there. Don't mind like a cheap two-man of like Dickinson, Donato, or something like that. The Bedard line, I don't have a ton of interest in full stacking, 12,700, 4.3% top two stack, 10.3% projected ownership. If anything, I do like a Bedard Doc two-man, more likely just a Bedard one-off. For me on the Chicago side, my favorite line is the Nazar, Teravainen, and Bertuzzi line at 13,500, 5.5% top two stack, 9.1% projected ownership. This isn't a great matchup, but Vancouver is back-to-back on the road. Chicago, that at least that second line is a very quick line, so it would be that Nazar line. I don't mind a Bedard one-off. Honestly, Dickinson, Donato, two-man is fine. Like, Chicago has a 2.8 total here. That's not nothing for them. So, yeah, I mean, there's stuff to like on both sides here.
Yeah, I'll start on the Vancouver side. I don't really have a ton of like Elias Pettersson has 8 shot attempts in 4 games. Like 8 shot attempts for Elias Pettersson. And you know, he's had decent numbers with Connor Garland at times. Not sure how Drew O'Connor is going to fit into that mix. Pettersson's also not getting a ton of ice time. Like, he played over 20 minutes last night. Great. His first 3 games, he played under 17 minutes. So now that they finally played him over 20, are they going to play him over 20 again on a road back-to-back? Like, I'm not sure. Like, I do worry that they just pull him back to like 17 or 18 minutes or something like that. And considering this is a guy that even when he was like a 90, 100-point player, didn't shoot a lot. The fact that he's shooting less and he's getting less ice time really does concern me. So, like, you know, again, like you said, they'll see Dickinson and Mikheyev. So that kind of takes me out on the Pettersson line. Hedel, DeBrusk, Besser. Like, listen, like, Hedel was one of those guys where with more ice time and kind of a featured role, I thought he could be kind of a breakout type guy this year. He has 3 goals in 4 games. Now, he's not going to keep shooting 25% or whatever it is, obviously, but he is on the power play with Brock Besser. That does count. They're not going to see a ton of Dickinson and Mikheyev. That does matter. I agree with you. I do like Besser, DeBrusk, and Hedel here. 15,400. They're another one of those lines like with Washington too, where if you're looking for a mid-range build, that's the direction I'm going. It's basically the only line I have interest in with Vancouver. The interesting thing about what Vancouver's doing is like when JT Miller was still there, they would use JT Miller all the time with Quinn Hughes on the ice, kind of in those shutdown roles. Now that JT Miller's gone, they're putting Quinn Hughes next to Pettersson quite a bit. It's like 55% of the 5-on-5 time for Elias Pettersson is with Quinn Hughes on the ice. So thinking about that from a Chicago perspective, you know, if Dickinson is going out against Pettersson and Pettersson most often plays with Quinn Hughes, that means the other Chicago lines are going against the second and third pairs from Vancouver, let alone the depth lines, right? So the question is what you want to do with Chicago. I do think just going to Nazar, Teravainen, and Bertuzzi because of the power play stacking does make a lot of sense. They are one of those lines you can use with Minnesota or something like that. The thing that does worry me is like leaving Bedard off. And it's not because Bedard's necessarily having a great season. His shot attempt rate is at around 11 per 60 minutes. That's like lower than league average. This is not a guy that should be shooting lower than league average. It's just that he's getting so much ice time, right? So much ice time at even strength. he's getting Bedard's getting over 17 minutes a game at even strength. No other Chicago forwards at 14 minutes. He's getting over 3 minutes more than the next closest player. So the fact that he's getting so much ice time, that's why it makes me nervous to leave him off a stack. Like, I don't hate just Chicago 2 plus Bedard. Make it a full power play stack, right? Vancouver's penalty kill can be inconsistent. It's been about league average to start this season. They've had great goaltending from Demko. That's the one thing that's really saved them. I'm not sure they're going to get that from Kevin Lankinen. So honestly, if I play Chicago 2, I probably just add in Bedard to make it a 4-man forward stack, just because Bedard is getting so many minutes. They are correlated on the power play, and Vancouver's penalty kill really hasn't looked sharp. So for me, I still think my favorite line in this game is Vancouver 2, that Hedl line. But I do think there is merit to playing Chicago 2 with Connor Bedard added in.
Yep. Let's get to this gong show of a late hammer. San Jose Sharks with a 2.6 total heading into Utah. The Mammoth have a 3.8. The Sharks, I don't know what the Sharks owner is whining about. Like, go do something about it. But whatever. Sharks are going Salaries.
Wait, hold on. I missed that. He said something?
Yeah, like he was just like, I don't know. Someone had an interview with him, and he was just basically like, this isn't the product we want to put out. It's like, then go do something about it instead of like signing Dmitry Orlov as your big signing in the offseason.
I mean, listen, San Jose has $25 million in dead cap hits from injured players on their roster. They have Carey Price at $10.5 million, Logan Couture at $6 million, and Ryan Ellis at $7.5 million or something, or whatever it is. When 30% of your cap is taken up by players that are purposefully injured, what in the hell can you possibly ask for?
Jake Wallman. That's all I asked for. And they yeeted him to Edmonton. Anyway, Macklin Celebrini, Jeff Skinner, Philip Kurashev. Sweet. Toffoli, Eklund, Wenberg. Will Smith, Michael Misa, Colin Graff. Utah going Genther, Cooley, Peterka, Keller, Schmaltz, Hayton, Krause, McBain, Carcone. There's a lot of ownership on the Sharks top 6 here, and frankly, I don't want to play it. Like 16.1% on the Celebrini line at 13.3, 10.6% on the Wenberg line. Like, to me, the Wenberg line is more playable, but do I really want to be playing Alex Wenberg on a 4-game slate with a 2.6 road total? Not really. Like, if you really want to get if you're really want to jump off the ledge here, you could 2-man like Michael Misa and Will Smith for their 12 minutes of ice time. If you're like power play stacking something like that, line honestly doesn't seem awful, but it's just like, do I want to be playing Sharks depth? Like, is that an oxymoron? Like, I don't know. Like, I just don't really love the Sharks here. You want to have a one-off Celebrini. Listen, we've talked about it, or Cliffy's talked about it, since Jake Wallman basically got hurt and then traded. They're two different teams with him on and off the ice. They don't have a replacement yet. Like, Dickinson will eventually be that guy, but they're playing him 11 minutes. And it's not like Jeff Skinner and Philip Kurashev really inspire confidence for Macklin Celebrini here tonight. So, like, one-off Celebrini, one-off Toffoli, one-off Will Smith, something like that if you really want to play Sharks. But I don't really like the Sharks here tonight. My interest is on the Utah side. And the problem I'm running into here is if you want a power play stack, it's really expensive. Genther's almost $8K. Cooley's $6,500. Keller's over $7K. Schmaltz is the cheapest at $6K. Sergachev, I think, is under $6K, but I think I would if I was going to full stack a line here, it'd be Hayton, Schmaltz, and Keller at 18,100, 21.5% top 2 stack, 17.7% projected ownership, compared to the Cooley line at 19.5, 31.8% top 2 stack, 23.6% projected ownership. The only reason I would do that is because, you're saving the 1,400, but then you're getting into the situations like this is an elite power play spot. I want Genther in there. So it would probably be some sort of power play stack, but then you're running into the problem that's too expensive. So you're going around and around and around. You can make it work. Obviously, there's some good cheap pieces here tonight. If I was going to full stack a line, it's the Keller line. I'm going to try to make some sort of power play stack work here. Whether it's like just Genther, Keller, Sergachev. You know what I mean? Like Logan Cooley, I really, really like him as a player. 6,500 for someone who doesn't shoot as much as Logan. Like for 6,500, I want someone who's going to possibly get a shot bonus and a 3-point bonus in this matchup. I don't know. So, like, it would be the power play guys. I wish JJ Peterka was on the top unit here tonight. It'd make things a lot easier. Like, I really do like the top 6 here. It's just like I want the power play guys, and that's where it comes into a really expensive issue for me. So, on the Shark side, like, good luck. On the Utah side, it would be some sort of power play stack. If I was going to full stack a line, it'd be the Hayden line.
Yeah, I'll start on the San Jose side. Like, here's the problem is, like, if you show me that top 9 that they have, I'd say, yeah, that kind of looks decent. I don't like Phil Kershaw, but whatever. The problem is the blue line, right? In the modern NHL, all your defensemen have to be able to skate out of trouble and be able to move the puck. They have to. 10 years ago, it would be you'd have 1 or 2 guys on the entire team amongst all their defensemen be able to do that. Now you have to have 5, if not all 6. You look at the San Jose blue line, like Nick Leddy, he's on a good team. He's a number 6 or number 7 defenseman. He might not even be an NHLer anymore. Vincent Desharnais, he's not an NHLer. So now you have 2 guys who probably shouldn't even be in the league, and Leddy wouldn't be if he didn't have the track record behind him. Dmitry Orlov, Mario Ferraro, on good teams, they're probably like a number 4, number 5 defense. Like Orlov was for Carolina, and then they got rid of him. Mario Ferraro is probably like a number 4, number 5. And then you have Muhammad Dulan, who I don't know what he has, like 30 games, 40 games. And Dickinson, who has like 4 games. Like these are young guys that need 2 or 3 seasons underneath them to really start hitting their stride. Honestly, this is an embarrassing blue line from an NHL franchise. And if you wonder why they can't generate anything or they're getting filled in, it's because half the blue line shouldn't be in the NHL and the other half of the blue line needs 2 or 3 more years. It's just the way it is. So this is going to be a very bad team all season. I thought that they'd at least be able to move the puck a little bit better, but they can't. So that's very concerning. Like if you look at Macklin Celebrini has 7 shot attempts total this year. 7 shot attempts. Like this is a guy who on a good team is probably going to put up 300 shots on goal in a full season. He has 7 attempts on the season. Like it's 7 attempts in 3 games. Like it's awful. Jeff Skinner leads the team with 12. Jeff Skinner leads the year 2025. Jeff Skinner is leading the team in shot volume. Phil Kershaw also shouldn't be in the NHL. So like, listen, anything can happen. We saw them put up 3 goals against Vegas, obviously, in the first game of the season. The second game of the season, they had that gong show with Anaheim. Like this team can score. So I'm not going to just completely discount San Jose. And I will say that at least Muhammad Dulan, I think he's probably an NHL defenseman, which can't be said for half that blue line as it is anyway. So, it does give them something. The fact that they're so cheap, like I would probably go to Toffoli, Eklund, Wenberg. At least those guys are 3 NHLers. Like there's no other line that San Jose has where you can say for certain where all 3 guys should be in the NHL. At least you can say that about Toffoli, Eklund, and Wenberg. So like, I mean, that's kind of where we're at, where where these 3 guys should all be in the NHL is the best compliment that you can pay any line on the San Jose team. So, 14K, 10.6% ownership. You can play them with like Minnesota 1 or something like that. I mean, I guess they're fine. Honestly, for me on the San Jose side, I'd be more inclined for one-offs. I'd be more inclined to like one-off to Foley, one-off Eklund. Like at least Eklund is shooting the puck a fair bit, 14 shot attempts per 60 minutes. That's above league average. He's typically not a shooter. He's typically just a playmaker. So the fact that he's shooting more to start the season is nice to see. You get 2 out of the 3 guys on the top power play unit. No other line has more than one. So for me, it's San Jose 2, but I'm not super stoked about the Sharks. Question is what to do with Utah. Like you said, if you power play stack and put in John Gibson, you have under 2,900 left on average for your other 3 roster spots. So like you're full punting at that point. Utah's top line. I was going to say something about line matching, but it doesn't fucking matter against this Sharks team. So, the top line, like Clayton Keller is not shooting the puck a ton. He's under 12 shot attempts per 60 minutes. It's actually Nick Schmaltz that's shooting. Nick Schmaltz at like 19 shot attempts per 60 minutes this season. It's like this guy's typically not a shooter, but he is right now. They're getting good amounts of ice time, 18 to 20 minutes a game, like on the low end. 18 minutes like Keller, like closer to 20, like Keller and Schmaltz because of their power play time. The second line's been surprisingly pretty good defensively. 53 shot attempts against, 1.9 expected goals against per 60. So I kind of like that second line, if only because they do seem to be controlling the play extremely well. Genther, obviously, he's shooting the lights out. Like he's at over 25 shot attempts per 60 minutes. Like Genther and Cooley are getting loads of ice time, around 20 minutes, if not more per game. So I kind of like Utah too, but certainly Utah 1, Utah 2, they're both in play here. They're not coming in with as much ownership as I thought they would be, considering it's a 4-game slate and considering the matchup. The one thing that's really making me interesting is San Jose's an AHL team. But the other thing that's making me interested in this game is that I was fully expecting to see, these Utah lines both at like 30%, 35%, 40% ownership, considering they're under 20K in such a good matchup. And they're not. So, Utah, I was telling you before the show, using stochastic ownership top 2 stack and like just my personal projections, Utah 2 is my top value line and Utah 1 is my number 3. So like obviously these guys are in a great spot, and the fact that they're not projecting as much ownership as I thought they would be are getting me more interested in playing them. So I think it's Utah 2, but certainly both the Utah top lines. And I'll shout out that Krause, McBain, Carcone line, if only because, listen, Lawson Krause scored 20 goals a season for 3 years in a row before last season. He's shooting the puck more this season as well. Michael Carcone, over the last 3 years, believe it or not, he's at 17 shot attempts per 60 minutes at 5-on-5. That's a very high rate. He does like to shoot the puck when he's on the ice. So like a Carcone, Krause 2-man or something like that, I do think makes a lot of sense if you want to get a piece of this game, but you're playing like Minnesota or Tampa Bay or something like that. So I do think all 3 lines are in play depending on what you want to do. I wouldn't overlook Utah 3 here, if only because they might get more ice time too. Like we saw that with Carolina, right? Carolina backed off the ice time for the top guys and gave more to their depth because San Jose is such a bad team. So a Krause, like Carcone 2-man, Krause, McBain, something like that, I think makes a lot of sense. But for me, I like the Genther, Cooley, Peterka line in particular.
Hey, Bacon's losing his mind right now, but it's okay. He's fired up to play the Mammoth. Let's talk about defensemen here at the top of the board. Oh, Sergachev's over 6,000, by the way. I thought he was slightly under. He's slightly over. 3 guys, 6K and up. You have Quinn Hughes at 7,400. You have Sergachev at 6,200. Hedman at 6,100. Quinn Hughes, really good spot for him. Very expensive. Just depends on your build. I think, getting him in. I don't know how, it's kind of tough to project defensive ownership, but can't imagine him being overly chalky when you have Utah being very expensive. I think Sergachev obviously makes sense. Sergachev is definitely going to be higher owned than Quinn Hughes here tonight. Hedman, I think, if you're doing something with Tampa, I think he makes some sense as adding him in for the power play. But really, this is a pretty thin defenseman slate. Like, obviously, you have Zeev at 4,100, who's going to be fairly popular. But, like, there really isn't much at any range. Is there anything that sticks out to you?
Yeah, I mean, number one on the board for me is easily Quinn Hughes. He's not uber expensive. He's only 7,400 at 1.93 projected points per $1,000. He leads the stochastic of the three defensemen, and it's honestly not even that close. Obviously, Mikhail Sergachev is perfectly fine in that matchup against San Jose, but I really do like Quinn Hughes amongst the expensive defensemen. The mid price range is a little bit tougher just because, no Lucas Raymond. So, like, do I want to play Moritz Seider? I think he's fine. Like, John Carlson's getting power play one time for Washington. He's blocking a lot of shots and he's taking a lot of shots. Like, Washington is a team that does run through their defense quite a bit. So I do think Carlson is fine. Philip Hronek at 4K, I think, he's projecting well. Obviously, in that matchup against Chicago, he's perfectly fine. If you want to get a little bit cheaper, Alex Vlasic, he's probably going to play over 20 minutes for Chicago, even though they're going 11-7. Jonas Brodin, whenever Jonas Brodin is under 4K, I do have interest. He's projecting reasonably well here tonight. Also, so Jonas Brodin, Connor Murphy, and I guess I'll say Dmitry Orlov just because he's getting power play one time for San Jose, but I mean, whatever. Wyatt Kaiser for Chicago. He's probably going to be amongst their top 2 or top 3 by ice time, and he's under 3K. He's fine. Mario Ferraro as well from San Jose. He might have to block a lot of shots here tonight, so I think he's a fine punt as well.
Yeah, the one issue, Dmitry Orlov, stuck out when I first was going through the price. He has one block shot on the season. You really want someone that cheap going for some block shots, but, it is what beggars can't be choosers.
I mean, if you were stuck on that team, would you want to block shots either? I'd be like, take care of it, Askarov.
I would Patrick Berglund my way back to Europe.
Just give up like $15 million, be like, I can't play for this team.
Yeah. Oof. Goalies. We don't have too many confirms here because I think it's Tampa, Vancouver, and Chicago are on back-to-backs.
No, Tampa, San Jose, and Minnesota.
Right. Okay. Askarov did get confirmed for the Sharks. So top of the board, Vejmelka. I don't know if it's going to be Vasilevsky or Jonas Johansson. There's obviously a big difference there. If it's Vasilevsky, I'd have a little bit of interest. If it's Jonas Johansson, I don't. Lankinen is all right. I would much prefer Demko here. Philip Gustafsson is the one that sticks out to me at 7,600. If it is Spencer Knight, I don't mind him at 7,500. If you really want to, I don't even know the term anymore because Ride the Lightning doesn't do it justice. You could play Askarov at 7K. But if you like a guy, go play him. But really, my first leans are the goalies in the Washington-Minnesota game, both of them, whichever one you like more.
I was going to say that exact same thing. If you look at early shot volume so far this season, 5 of the bottom 10 teams by shot attempts per 60 minutes of 5-on-5 so far this season are on this slate. So 5 of the 8 teams tonight are amongst the bottom 10 for slowest offensive pace in the league. It's San Jose, Chicago, Vancouver, Tampa Bay, and Detroit. So if you assume that they're not going to generate a ton of shot volume, you're basically down to the Minnesota-Washington game. Now, I have Gustafsson for the sole purpose that Washington's power plays looked really bad to start the season, and obviously Minnesota's power plays just mopping the floor with every single team that they face. So for me, I would lean Gustafsson. In general, I think my goalie is going to come from that game on one side or the other. And I will say Logan Thompson is projected slightly higher than Phil Gustafsson on Stochastic, but Gustafsson has a slightly higher point per $1,000 value. If you want to, just play Vejmelka. He's at 8,400. He certainly has high shutout potential. Stochastic has him at 6.5% shutout potential. No other goalies above 6. So I think Vejmelka is perfectly fine. If I were to use a cheap goalie tonight, I wouldn't watch any of the games. But if I were to use a cheap goalie tonight, it would probably be Spencer Knight at 7,500. Vancouver, it's a road back-to-back. Chicago, their power play finally scored last night for the first time this season. The Chicago penalty kills generally been fine. Knight's been pretty good this year. He's 7,500. Like, if you need a cheap goalie, I think that's the direction I go. But like I said, I think my goalie is going to come from the Minnesota-Washington game.
Yep. We will be back tomorrow to break down the 10-game slate. Bacon will be in his doggy suite, so you don't have to worry about him. I thought maybe he could get through a 4-game slate. He's just way too fired up about the Sharks. But who are you liking for your hat trick pick?
Just to twist the knife a little bit, I'm going to go with Philip Hedl.
That was my guy too, so I will come with the second one. Former Rangers. Let's see here. I guess I'll go with another Rangers legend, spicy Vladimir Tarasenko.
Okay, sure. I forgot he played for them.
Yeah, he was awful.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll be back tomorrow, 1:30. We look forward to seeing you then. Good luck, everybody, tonight.
Good luck tonight, everyone.